Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather report for the week of November 6th through the 12th. And we're deep into the Scorpio season now, you've seen a lot of deep, intense stuff going on in the world. And we had the eclipse season. We're still at the end of that the last couple weeks. So I understand that, the astrology weather reports the last 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks have been pretty intense, and that usually comes up this time of the year. The Scorpio time of the year is that time of the year where they say the veil between the worlds is very thin, and like our world is accessible and other worlds are accessible to us. So we're under the influence of a lot of other energy that may not necessarily have as much influence over us on the other times of the year. So there's a lot of intense stuff going on you can see in the world, and the Scorpio energy has a lot to do with relationships. That's where that stuff will come out, and it'll be in our personal lives. How people, intense things going on with people in our personal lives. In our relationships, we may be losing people, or a lot of transformation going on. And then in the world, you can see it playing out in between countries, where this like dark, shadowy Scorpio energy has brought a lot of, violence, transformation, things dying, new things being born. So, you can see this in our own lives. We can see this happening in the world. And so the last few weeks have definitely been a very potent time since Pluto went direct and we had the eclipses. Especially the first eclipse, the solar one, was very, very intense, and I know that the energy has been very intense to deal with. So this week we have a kind of a mixed bag, and so that's what I'm going to be talking about. We have Venus changing signs, Mercury changing signs, some good energy and some intense energy mixed up. So that's what I'll be talking about this week mainly. And just to remind everybody, this is a free video blog that I've been doing on YouTube now for several years. Prior to that, it was on podcasts and even a written blog. And since it is free, I would love everybody to please pass the link on to somebody else once you're done watching it. I really appreciate it. That's the way I get the blog to grow. And if you do like the blog and you have a YouTube account, please become a follower and turn on your notifications. The followership is going up more and more. YouTube's getting kind of a little happier with me, or happier with me, letting me know I'm, kind of breaking through certain numbers that they like. So I really appreciate that. And also it's available on podcasts, and the podcast numbers have been going way up too. It's like in top 50% of podcasts now, which is great. That's still not massive amounts of numbers, but you guys have definitely been helping out. And like I said, I'm usually me just talking to the camera. So, check it out on your favorite podcast. It's distributed through Buzzsprout. There's over 20 of them to pick it up. Just look up the Astrological Winds channel. That'll free you to do, to listen to it when, at other times that might be more convenient not to have to do the video YouTube thing. And also, I do have an Astrological Winds channel set up on Instagram. So if you have an Instagram account, become a follower there. I post extra info, and I do post the link there. And also, the one other place I do post the link every week is my private Facebook account. So if you want to friend me, it's Matthew with 2 T's and Lawton, Lauten, and I do post the link there. Really appreciate you passing the link on, though. If you'd like to give us any kind of donation of currency to help me keep the blog going, I appreciate that too. No amount is too small. My Venmo handle is at Matthew, once again, with a hyphen, and then Lawton, Lauten. Also, the best way you guys can really support me, though, is when you're ready to get a professional reading, or someone you know needs a professional reading. Please contact me at HUE823 at gmail.com, and we can talk about how we can set that up. And there's no commitment, just, don't be afraid to ask and find out what the parameters are. Been doing readings for over 20 years professionally, was trained professionally, and educated for 7 years to do that. So I'd love to do that for you when you're ready for that. Like I said, once again, just email me, MATTHUE823 at gmail.com. Okay, so Monday starts the week with two really dynamic trines that I think are going to work really well together. So this is one of the, like I said, it's a mixed week. So this is one of the positive parts of the week as far as like the way this normal energy normally flows for us in this day and age. And we've got Mercury trine Neptune and Venus trine Pluto on the same day. And I think what's really going to happen here is that the Mercury trine Neptune is probably going to stimulate us with some new ideas and new ideals. Like somehow our imagination gets some new information in on an abstract level. This is right brain kind of stuff. So it's like, very like attached to idealism and philosophy and values, like things that are like our abstractions, but like kind of like, a curious mind kind of about some new info that we may have gotten. And then we want to share it somehow, like try to somehow bring it out. And I think what happens is that'll interact with the Venus trine Pluto, where we're going to find the people, once we start sharing it, we'll find the people that we know will react to that, in a way that's good for us. We'll feel that and we'll make a deeper connection with them. I think we'll get like, it'll almost like separate the wheat from the chaff in some of our relationships. And we'll, people who are like, respond to those ideals and ideas and new things that we're getting means that they're kind of like having like that energy in them too. And between the two of you, or even more, there'll be a deeper connection. There'll be like a more intimate sharing of this kind of energy. And I think it'll really, you get into some really deep conversations, deep connections with others on really deep subject matter, stuff that like comes from under the surface and is outside the normal practical reality. And I also think too, because of the imagination and the Mercury Neptune part, right, that there'll be a lot of inspiration too, a lot of inner inspiration, not only to connect with others, but to like actually, if we have an artistic streak, which we all do in some manner or another, it doesn't have to be like what is considered standard art in the world. We have a creative streak is my point. And when we get some ideals, that creativity can, really start to take on new levels and can stimulate us to actually produce, to want to get down and actually get productive about some of these ideals and ideas we're having. So the Venus trine Pluto will do that. It'll make us want to be, it'll be like, wow, like I've got this great idea and I want to crystallize it. I want to focus it in. I want to like get some very deep work done on it. So there's a passion behind it. And it can be different too. Like Venus Pluto can bring us down a different avenue of creativity too. It can just be like the deeper we get, the more like arteries and veins that come off of that main avenue that we can start to explore and get into. But it really, like I said, it really does open us up to like really deep thinking, deep sharing, and like finding the people that we want to do that. So I think these two trines are very beneficial, in effect, exact Monday, but like even Sunday, Tuesday, a little bit, feeling that energy still, of making that kind of connection. And then on Tuesday, we have Venus, I said two of the planets changing signs this week, the inner planets. So Venus is going to go into Libra, and she is like, thank goddess, finally, because if you remember all the way back on June 6th, right, she went into Leo, right? And then she spent almost the whole summer in Leo, right? Because she went retrograde and stayed in Leo. And then when she finally got out of Leo, what did she end up doing? Going right in early October, she went right into Virgo, which is not, as I said, one of the signs that she's very happy in. So she's had to, like, so to speak, suffer. The goddess has had to suffer through the Virgo energy, since she came out of her retrograde phasing with Leo. So now she's going to go into Libra, very happy. Libra is one of the signs that Venus rules. So this is when we really open up to socializing. We have a lot of social grace, ease, harmony with others, a desire to connect with others, a desire to share, to give and take. We have a very diplomatic peacemaker point of view. So we're willing to give and take in order to establish rapport and harmony and balance with others. And so very graceful energy. We're on our kind of like best behavior, good manners kind of thing. We want to reach out to others. We want to have that. And we also are really good at beautifying things, beautifying ourselves, beautifying relationships, beautifying our surroundings, our home, our areas, that kind of thing, enjoying nature. A lot of people, go out, whatever it may be that you consider to beautify yourself, get, that tat done or whatever it may be, whatever it may be, new do or whatever it may be, so this is that kind of energy. And it's also, once again, very productive energy artistically, just like the Venus trine Pluto going on at the same time. It's a very productive energy to get stuff out artistically. We're very poetic with our words, we're very lyrical, that kind of thing, and so a great time. I mean, really the biggest thing with Venus in Libra is, on the negative side, is not really wanting to get into the nitty-gritty dirty kind of work. We're more into like the lighter, cleaner relationship side of things. So it's almost like I'd rather do service than something physical, you know what I mean? So like it's a little bit of a take it easy kind of like, well, I'm graceful, can someone else do that, dirty job for me? So that's the one place where we kind of can fall back a little bit with Venus and Libra. But interestingly enough, all that being said, the very first day that Venus is in Libra, it immediately quincunxes Saturn, which, if you remember from last week, just went direct right at the beginning of Pisces. So there's an immediate, as soon as another planet goes into another sign, it immediately is aspecting Saturn right now. And so this is going to delay the Venus Libra energy for a day or two. Basically, when Venus is quincunx Saturn, it's saying to itself, I have to serve others in order to get the love I want. It's conditional love. It really is. It's a belief system that we somehow, in order to get the love we want from others, we have to serve them, and it's a lonely place to be inside, and for many people, really the best thing sometimes is to just take the day off from actually interacting very much, because you're really you can put yourself in a subordinate frame of mind for accepting people and behavior that you normally might not, or is below where you should be. You kind of like settle is a good way. Settle for something less is a good way to say it, especially within our relationships and stuff. But we could be feeling constricted financially too. But just coming across with this kind of conservative, rigid attitude and feeling more comfortable with the way older relationship patterns are, versus wanting to dare to change that stuff yet. So like I said, it's a little bit of a slow start to the Venus going into Libra because of this quincunx to Saturn. And Also, that very same day, there's another quincunx too. The sun is quincunx in Chiron. And that shows me, yeah, this is a day where we can really feel off. Like if, we're feeling this Venus Saturn, it can make our feel like just basically the whole day is a little awkward and off, like the energy is off. We may be, physically, we may feel it in our bodies, like our body just is not ready to take on, maybe feeling some ailments or injuries, things like that. But it requires it's a day where we're going to have to make some adjustments in, what we were planning on thinking we were doing versus what we're actually going to be able to do, both in relation to what we're doing ourselves and what we're doing in relation to other people, So, and what's interesting enough is there is a Mercury sextile Pluto also going on that same day. So it's kind of like, okay, well, it's going to give us some deep insights. That means like all this adjustment and seeing things this way may actually give us some really deep insights. And when you think about like the Venus quincunx Saturn and then the sun quincunx Chiron, it's almost like how we hurt ourselves with some of the attitudes that we have and in relationships and an inability to adjust to things. So to me, the Mercury sextile Pluto, we actually may get a really good view of that, like see that perspective on this very deep level. Oh, this is why this is happening to me in relationships, or this is why when I try to do this thing on my life path, it kind of seems to go off the rails. It might it'll show us like where some of this deeper energy is coming from, and gives us the opportunity to get a handle on it. So it can be a very deep, profound mind with the Mercury sextile Pluto. It can get to the bottom of things. It's not interested in the superficialities. It's like, hey, where is this energy really coming from? Let me get a grip on this. Let me get a handle on this. It's excellent for like research. Anything that you're really into right now and you really need to, focus on a deeper level of it is really gives the proper frame of mind for that. It's a very focused, concentrated energy, and it's really good for, in particular, research into anything that's like depth study, things that, what's making our mind move a certain way, basically. So very interesting energy wrapped up. Venus Libra, is going to be nice, but the first day or so is going to be a little bit like, kind of like a couple stalls, turn the key over, engine stalls out kind of thing, and then kind of before it starts flowing forward. Then Thursday and Friday, Mercury changes signs. And Mercury's going to go into Sagittarius, actually, which, as opposed to Venus going into a sign that's very positive for it, where it's called rulership, Mercury is going to go into a sign that's not necessarily a good sign for it in many ways. It's in detriment, what we call detriment, when it goes into Sagittarius. And so, Mercury in Sag is a very excited mind. It's not necessarily a negative thing where we're feeling that, like, oh, this is depressing. If anything, it's the actual opposite. The problem with the Mercury in Sag is it's so curious, right? It wants to take in so much, and then it creates a grand vision. It creates a grand plan. It has this wide, far-reaching vision, but it has a very flippant attitude about what is needed in the real world, in the practical details to get to the top of that vision. And so like that attitude is what the problem is when Mercury goes into Sag, because if the details are not taken care of on an intellectual level, most of the time our plans do not work out. And we end up with a lot of mistakes, a lot of sloppiness, a lot of doing over, things like that. So that's really the danger. Now, the other thing that's also tough for Mercury in Sag is a very honest sign. The fire signs are very blunt and honest and open. Problem is they're not very sensitive to what they're saying and how that affects other people. So Mercury and Sag can, be like a foot and mouth kind of disease thing, really getting self-righteous about what you value and this grander vision you're seeing these days, and being pushy about it to the point of arrogance, which can, turn other people off, really disrupt your relationships, that kind of thing. So that's, the other problem with it is there's this honesty that's so blunt that it's reckless. It really is insensitive to others, and, and is not too concerned with the emotional debris it leaves behind. But like I said, once again, very inspired mind, very much ready to take in new information and ideas. The trick is staying in balance with it. We're going to have 2 or 3 weeks of, 3 weeks of Mercury and Sag. And once again, just like Venus going into Libra, it immediately runs into Saturn and pulls in the reins at the beginning of the sign change. Once again, just like Libra, Sagittarius is an extroverted yang sign. So these planets want to act out. They want to push the energy out, but Saturn is this introverted, bring the energy in, restrictive planet. So the very first planet they're both aspecting when they change signs this week is Saturn again. And so Mercury is going to square Saturn on Thursday and Friday. And what does that do? It actually can give us, at the same time that it's squaring Saturn, it's sesquiquadrating Chiron too. And what I think is going to happen here is our mind is stuck on something. There's something that's like some kind of problem that we probably don't have the resolution for yet, and it's disturbing us, and it can get us into this half-empty way of looking at things on a mental or intellectual level. And so it's got a very, almost like a narrow mind, the Mercury Saturn. And it really, in all honesty, there's a lot of strength there in details, where you can really focus and concentrate on step-by-step stuff. But it's best to work alone if you can on Thursday, Friday, because it's very difficult to communicate with others with the Mercury Saturn, because it seems like everybody has a poor attitude, basically, and would rather gripe about what's bothering them than, look at the positive side of things. So, if you have some kind of detailed paperwork, creative, mental, intellectual energy, it's the best thing to focus on and try to do it alone, or with as little need for others as possible, because it does just kind of put us in that framework. Now, Saturday and Sunday, there's a very dynamic, explosive Mars opposite Uranus, okay? When these two get together, it is super impulsive energy. So we really will, expect next weekend for some pretty crazy events in the world again, which, we've got enough things going on that where that can be multiple places, but expect things to conflagrate, to blow up again. Mars-Uranus is it's with opposition is like throwing a hand grenade into something, it's really explosive energy that can impact on a very short level and blow things way out of proportion. And so, look for world events that to really get fired up wherever there's conflict going on, and also even natural disasters too. Remember, Uranus is the planet of natural disasters, and Mars can easily trigger that, especially in opposition energy pulling at each other. So, and then on a personal level, that energy is unpredictability with people. This can bring in if you have parts of you that are hard to control and you get irritated or angry, you can easily blow up. This is like having a temper tantrum on someone. And anybody in your life, loved ones or people that in your life who are not the most stable individuals, are probably going to have issues this weekend in trying to control themselves. It's a very uncontrollable energy, Mars Uranus. It's explosive, it's concentrated, it's focused. Now, what I will say is this, if you can keep some discipline, it has an incredible ability to leapfrog you somewhere. Like, you can make a lot of progress in a very short amount of time. You can crystallize energy and really create a new form very quickly. The problem is, if you're not disciplined, you put too much energy into it and you'll blow the crystal up and it shatters into many, many pieces, right? So this is very dynamic energy. It's not easy to discipline, but there is, if you can focus that energy, boy, you can really make some big, quick changes and really leapfrog quickly on certain things. But for most of us, it brings in a lot of surprising events, disturbing events, irritation, anger with others. So we have to be really careful. And Mars is conjuncting Ceres too. So that shows me at the root of it is we may not feel we're getting our needs met. And when people aren't feeling like they're getting their needs met, they can explode. Ceres is all about it's our physical needs with Mars for our body, like literally food and shelter and things like that, but also the need for love and affection, and getting aggressive or militant even about it if we're not getting it. So can really feed into some very negative energy loops with Uranus, where people will overreact impulsively, not even understand why, and the next thing you know, boom, the whole situation blows up. So very careful next weekend with the way you react to things. And, just be careful in the world too, because there's a lot of sensitive things going on in the world, and you can easily get caught in the crossfires of some explosive, upsetting event. All right, well, that's what I got for this week. A very dynamic week, like I said, there's some good energy. Those trines at the beginning of the week, Venus and Libra, will start to chill relationships out, but there's also still a lot of that bombastic energy of feeling like I'm right, everyone else is wrong, and you see that playing out in individual lives and on the world stage, and people being really pushy and really bringing relationships down to some really dark and intense places that can even be violent. And so we, it's more of a, this week there's more, the energy's going back and forth a little bit more than the last couple weeks where it was really intense, but there's still a lot of that intensity behind it. And we just got to try to start to use that Venus and Libra to kind of just chill things out and realize, we want relationships. It's a basic human need. We want, and it's so much nicer when we can get along and be in harmony with the people around us and our surroundings and that kind of thing, than to constantly be in some kind of battle that's coming from some passionate, intense place, and ties us into a cycle of repeating violence possibly, or death and rebirth and decay and birth and that kind of thing. Can we break off that kind of wheel by realizing that we do need each other, that it's a basic need to relate, and that it's so much nicer to be able to relate to each other in a way that's harmonious and balanced. So hopefully that Venus and Libra energy will start to kick in and take some of the edge off of this deep Scorpio season. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel, and it is a free service I've been doing for so many years at this point. And I would really love if you could pay me back right now by taking the link and passing it on to someone else. And even if you've done it before, please find someone else to pass it on to. And I know that doesn't mean they're going to necessarily like it, but give them the opportunity to check it out. Remember, more than half the people in the world believe in astrology now, so you're not going out on a limb by doing that. If you'd like to support me in ways of currency, Any donation you'd like to give to the blog is, not too small. And my Venmo handle is at the symbol A with the circle around it, then Matthew, and that's with a capital M and two T's, and then a hyphen in the middle, and a capital L, and it's Lauten, Lawton. And like I said, the best way you guys can support me is I am a professional astrologer. I've been one for over 20 years. I was trained for 7 years. I was after 10 years of dabbling myself. Would love to do your chart, or someone else that is looking for have their chart or some chart work done. Definitely recommend getting a natal birth chart done if you've never had that done by a professional. If you've only had it done by a computer or a friend or looked through a book, you'll have a completely different experience. It's like linear versus holistic. That's all I can tell you guys. And you always have that chart with you your whole life, no matter where you go, no matter how old you are. That energy is prevalent and working. And if you know what it is, you can make your life a lot better. You really can. I promise you that. And also, predictive readings. I recommend every year around your birthday, give yourself a birthday present, get a predictive reading done. It's like your weather report for the next year, because every year the planets affect our charts differently, and it has a lot to do with the challenges we'll have that year. And so that way you can see, like, this is how I can work well with this. Relationship charts, children's charts, fixed star readings for deeper soul purpose, relocation and astrolocality if you're looking to move somewhere else, all that stuff available. Then elections, if you're looking to start a new business or something important, we can get the best timing done for success for that. And then horary questions, if you have some burning question that's, you just can't seem to get an answer to, and it's really emotionally prevalent in your life, sometimes we can find an answer in the chart. I also have beginners classes available for people who'd like to do that. They're on Dropbox. Can set you up to do that real simply. And if you have a group that needs a lecture, workshop, classes, mini readings, some kind of entertainment for your event, don't hesitate to ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. All those things, just email me initially, MATTHUE823 at gmail.com. That's MATTHUE823 at gmail.com. All right, we will get that new moon next week in Scorpio. So looking forward to doing that for next week's blog, and I will see you all then.